White House has announced the largest ever U.S. weapons sale to Taiwan, worth over $11 billion. It's the second such deal under the current Trump administration, and it's likely to further strain relations between the U.S. and China. Beijing is ramping up military and diplomatic pressure on Taiwan, which China claims as its own territory.
It's scenes like these that have Taipei sounding the alarm. China has been increasingly flexing its military muscle over Taiwan in recent years, with military drills and regular incursions into its waters and airspace. Beijing sees self-governed Taiwan as a breakaway province and has long vowed to regain control of the island. Taiwan says it needs more military might to deter any attempt by Beijing to do this, and has again called on Washington for support. This latest arms package is the largest yet from the US, and the White House says the sale serves the United States' national, economic and security interests. In a statement online, Taiwan's defense ministry thanked the Trump administration and detailed some of the military kit it was buying. The deal covers self-propelled howitzers, Javelin anti-tank missiles, loitering munition drones, and parts for other equipment. It also contains the much sought-after high-mobility artillery rocket systems, or HIMARS, which are alone worth some $4 billion. China responded furiously to the news of the deal, saying no one should underestimate China's resolve on Taiwan.
The US has announced a large-scale program to supply advanced weapons, which violates the One China principle and the Sino-US joint communiques. This severely undermines China's sovereignty, security and territorial integrity, and significantly harms the peace and stability of the Taiwan Strait.
The arms deal proposal still officially needs to be approved by the US Congress, but it's expected to get widespread support given the cross-party consensus on Taiwan's defense.
Ava Shin joins me now. She's an expert on Taiwan and China relations at the Eurasia Group. Ava, thanks for joining us. This is a big top-line figure, more than $11 billion worth of arms. Do we have any idea what's behind this decision, and why is it happening right now?
I think this latest arms sale is consistent with the U.S. national security strategy, which stated that deterring a conflict over Taiwan is a priority for the U.S. in Asia. So I think this arms sale has been kind of in the works, and this also echoes Taiwan's own efforts to try to boost its own defense. The ruling party has recently unveiled a 7-year arms package that is over $40 billion in US dollars that is intended to boost its own defense.
At the same time, Washington has sent mixed signals in general on its readiness to uphold alliances and commitments, something that Taiwan has also noticed. Does this alleviate those concerns for Taipei?
This latest arms sale is definitely a good news for Taipei. I think it definitely will help alleviate some anxieties in Taiwan about whether or not Trump will uphold the One China policy and continuing U.S. defense assistance to Taiwan. I think Trump so far has upheld strategic ambiguity, and he has not succumbed to Chinese demands of trying to erode U.S. existing commitments to Taiwan.
We saw in the piece there some of the material that could end up in Taiwan, HIMARS, I think howitzers. Is there anything in this package that really makes a significant difference in Taiwan's ability to defend themselves? What stands out when you look at this?
I think a lot of the things that are specified in the arms sale will ultimately help Taiwan to build its T-Dome initiative, which is inspired by the Israel's Iron Dome, which is basically a multi-layered defense system to try to deter Chinese missiles. So I think this defense package will work toward that goal as well.
China and the U.S., of course, still negotiating on a tariffs agreement. Xi Jinping scheduled to come to the U.S. in April. What role is Taiwan playing in these negotiations, if any?
I think Taiwan is a top issue for China, but China at the same time wants to maintain the overall stability and momentum of the US-China trade negotiations. So we think that China will be careful in terms of calibrating its response to this latest arms sale. We have so far seen condemnations coming out of the Foreign Ministry and the Taiwan Affairs Office, and Beijing will likely intensify its gray zone military coercion against Taiwan in terms of air identification zone incursions as well as median line crossings.
Briefly, Ava, we've seen some good reporting lately about Chinese amphibious drills around Taiwan. How seriously should we take that? Briefly, if you can.
So China every month has been conducting these combat readiness joint patrols. I think they are further away from Taiwan. I think at this time, an announced Chinese military exercise is unlikely because that will risk further escalation with the U.S.
All right. That's Ava Shin in Washington, D.C. Ava, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's get some analysis now from Philip Shelter-Jones. He's a senior research fellow on the international security team at RUSI, a British think tank focused on defense and security. Thanks for being with us. Philip, the U.S. and Taiwan have announced an $11 billion arms deal. If finalized and carried through, it would be one of Washington's biggest ever military sales to the island. How will this help Taiwan?
Good morning. I think it helps Taiwan in a couple of ways. In the short term, it sends a very positive signal that despite any rumors about the US changing its position on support to Taiwan, it underlines that the US is willing to continue with providing Taiwan the means for its defense, as laid out in US domestic law and in the rhetoric of President Trump on peace through strength. It's part of the overall strategy towards China that's emerged in this administration, which has two parts. On one side, this peace through strength of providing Taiwan with the means for its defense and expecting it to spend more and do more for that. But on the other hand, also reassuring China by saying that the United States will not challenge the legitimacy of the Communist Party or try to restrict its economic growth.
Let's talk about more concrete things. The deal aims to strengthen Taiwan's defense capabilities, as you pointed out. Part of that is the so-called T-dome air defense shield. Tell us how that system would work with this U.S. backing.
The T-dome seems to be modeled in part on the system the Israeli government have established, the Iron Dome. So it's an area defense concept that would in principle cover all of the territory of Taiwan from missiles and air attack. It's a very demanding model to adopt because Israel's taken a long time to build that up with access to excellent technology and very large defense budgets, much larger proportionally than what Taiwan currently spends on defense. So it's reaching for a very high standard. It would take a very long time to put into operation. But I think, again, part of the importance of this is symbolic. First of all, it is a defensive system, and so it underlines that Taiwan is not seeking to change the status quo, but just maintain it. But also it indicates to the United States audience, which is quite familiar with Israeli defense strategies and political posture, that Taiwan is really serious about spending more and providing for its own defense, thereby alleviating some of the burden that would otherwise fall on Americans.
What's behind Washington's decision, Philip, to go through with this sale now?
Well, I think it's a continuity, really, of the long-standing U.S. policy to provide Taiwan with the means for its defense. I don't know whether there is any linkage with the recent diplomacy with China, because President Trump and Chairman Xi had an excellent meeting, it seems, when they came together in South Korea for the APEC meeting and agreed a kind of ceasefire on trade. So there seems to be a priority in both capitals, Beijing and Washington, to put their economies first. And perhaps that gives a little bit of leeway for the United States to pursue the other side of its policy, which is, as I say, matching the Chinese military buildup with a corresponding buildup in defensive capability among US allies and partners, including Taiwan.
Philip, thank you very much for talking with us. That was Philip Shetler-Jones from the RUSI think tank.
Thank you.
Well, in the face of China's military threats, Taiwan is now turning to private companies to boost its defenses. Drone makers that once supplied farmers are now developing aircraft for the battlefield. It's part of a major defense drive, which has more and more Taiwanese preparing for possible conflict. DW's Rick Glauert reports.
Designed to fly low over fields and spray fertilizer onto crops like rice and vegetables, engineering machines like this one to help Taiwan's farmers was the original mission of Kunwei, a small drone maker in central Taiwan. Now the company is beginning to use its technology in a far more volatile landscape. Kunwei is developing combat-capable drones to help Taiwan in the case of a Chinese attack.
We're not trying to attack anyone. This is about self-protection and self-defense. By doing this, we hope to reduce the chances of war. When you have these technologies, and they can be widely used, an enemy may think twice about attacking. What we want most is to prevent war from happening.
Drones like these could be key for Taiwan to defend itself by patrolling contested airspace or guiding and delivering strikes on hostile forces. We're not able to film everything that's happening here. Some of Kunwei's new defense technologies are already too sensitive to show. For a company that used to make agricultural equipment, that's a major shift. But it's a transformation happening all over Taiwan. Small private enterprises are being asked to support the military as it faces up to a much larger foe. Private enterprises such as this aviation operator, which has begun flying its own reconnaissance missions as Chinese activity intensifies offshore. Taiwan's president recently ordered a massive hike to the defense budget, investing heavily in the so-called T-Dome, a new island-wide air defense shield that will consist of both domestically produced weapon systems and others supplied by the US.
We must rely on strength in order to obtain true peace. Peace cannot be achieved merely through a piece of paper called a peace agreement, nor by yielding to the demands of an aggressor.
Taiwan has lots of small companies that are able to move fast and pivot into different sectors. And the government is getting its people ready too. It's distributing emergency handbooks that teach civilians how to act and how to help others in the event of an attack, such as an airstrike.
It's quite surprising. Yeah, we have to be ready for this.
This is what we should be doing. Every country needs to be prepared for this type of situation.
Like much of the world, Taiwan knows drones are key to its defense. But many of them contain components made by the very country it's threatened by. That's why back at Kunwei, David and his team are now working to eliminate Chinese-made parts from their drones. A step toward the self-reliance the government is urging across critical industries. The Taiwanese only have one homeland, says David, and showing both the determination and the capability to defend it, he believes, may help deter war.